Welcome to Level 1 Restoration Behind the Scenes. We're here today to look at a 1966 Oldsmobile Starfire. We're going to show you what makes this car cool. I'm joined today with Jeff Kelly. He's one of my top guys here at Level 1 Restoration. I've known Jeff since he was a teenager. He's a very passionate car guy. One of the areas that he really is passionate about are full-size cars that have 4-speed transmissions. So that is a perfect fit for the car we're going to look at today. Let's have a look.
It's so good looking. What a beautiful car.
I love the fender vents on this car. It just looks like speed.
How they match the cornering lamps. Oldsmobile really hit it there.
Oh yeah.
The curvature of the bumper into the fender is just spectacular.
Yeah, is a perfect, so that's a turn light indicator is I think the proper term from that. There's a couple of different names for that.
Yep.
Turning lamp.
The rear end here, it's just so stylized. They have so much going on. And of course their fantastic Starfire emblem, hiding the trunk lock cylinder.
Yeah, really cool, intricate. How that's cast, you know, to make that brighter, I think is the reason for all of those different squares in there.
And just being a nice surviving car, how clean and bright all the lenses are.
Yeah, this is, I believe, was this a 40 or 60,000 original?
It's 40-some thousand miles.
Yeah, this original paint car. There's the trunk lock area like we mentioned.
Cool.
This car also has a vacuum operated trunk release.
Still works.
Yep. Pretty normal option for a full-size Oldsmobile of that time.
A posse car. This car was very specially ordered.
So we checked the gear ratio on this as a 323. Yep. And of course this car, being a 4-speed car, has a wide ratio Muncie. And if you're not familiar with these, I believe this car would have the long tail shaft.
This is a long tail shaft, like a Pontiac.
And I think the reason for it to be longer is so it didn't have to have a carrier bearing in there, like an Electra or an Olds 98, or you know, something longer had to have a midway point, just like a truck.
But it's unusual that a Chevy, an Impala, is still the same wheelbase, but doesn't use a long tail shaft Muncie. It's still a short shaft.
Huh.
So just
a difference in the engineering thinking.
Engineering, they must have had a reason for it. They wanted it for one reason or another. The decals, I can't believe how well they've survived. Those always just wrinkle so bad.
Pretty neat looking here. That's non-painted, which might be an indication of it having the power trunk lock.
Yeah, isn't that just an early car thing?
And that could be as well. There, of course, is the alignment stripe. Trunk lid's never been off of this car. Look at those.
Never been touched.
Never
Absolutely
had a wrench
beautiful.
On it. Incredible.
The lines, I love the roof. The roof is just spectacular. That extra piece of trim that goes around. A Grand Prix wouldn't get that, which shares the same roof, but a Grand Prix doesn't get that. That's an Oldsmobile only item. Just a great addition to this car.
Really nice detail. And the trim fits. Another nice aspect of a Survivor. All of that, never been off the car more than likely. Fits really tight to the car. Where in a restoration, lots of times you lose a little bit of that, you know, especially on a lower end restoration.
The tires are fantastic on this car.
So this car came in and it had just black wall tires, radial tires. Definitely didn't do the car any favors looks wise. It's definitely a car that has to have white walls.
And correct pie crust, or however you want to call it. It just looks so much better than having radial block tires on it.
Absolutely.
It looks so much better.
Yeah, here's some more detail here. That mirror is a really...
What a work of art. I mean, they just thought that out so well. It fits the Olds jet theme, the futuristic space theme on this car.
And, you know, for the mid 1960s, that mirror, unlike the 70s and on, that mirror's not shared with Buick or Pontiac.
No, and not even a small car. That is a
Right.
full-size item only.
Yeah, I'm sure you would find that on a 98 or a Delta 88 if it had a remote mirror.
But not a Cutlass.
Correct. And then, of course, the condition of it is fantastic.
Perfect. The
So-
dash. Sorry,
Yeah.
what can't you say about that dash? It's absolutely spectacular. It's just beautiful. The individual pods on either side that house all the controls, everything is pot metal chrome. There's not a piece of plastic to fade or wear or anything. It's all pot metal chrome.
That's right. And 66 would have been really the last absolutely pure year for that. It hung on for a little while with full-size cars, but you know,
It was
60s
dying.
Yeah,
It was dying out.
The beginning of the end in 67. But this is absolutely everything you could want it to be. Beautiful dash. I think we wanted to point out the gauges and how neat the gauges in this car look like a gear. Every single round
The
dial.
serrations on all of them, and they match all of the headlight switch, the radio knobs, everything matches to itself. It's just, everything was thought out. There's not an accident anywhere.
And really incredible because they change these things every year on these cars. I mean, they might have had a theme you could recognize.
You can
an
recognize it.
Oldsmobile
You know it's an Oldsmobile, but it's not a 65, it's not a 67. It is unto
Right.
66.
and not interchangeable. You know, just the general look might be the same.
The door panels are some of my favorite. The aluminum band, I don't recognize that in any GM car. I don't even know where that came from.
Yeah,
that
that's-
just seems to be this car only.
Yeah, Oldsmobile Starfires have a lot of aluminum
Aluminum
bands. Yeah, that
band.
was kind of a calling
That's
card.
their theme.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
that piece right there, I don't recognize that in any other GM car.
And you know, and I really, you and I both are really big fans of, you know, the original steering wheel. It's very painful. I understand when someone puts a modern steering wheel on a car. In that, there might not be an option to have a steering wheel like this restored as far as the outside band goes, because, you know, like say a GTO or a 442, you might be able to have that recast or
Right, that's accessible. But a car like this, you're on your own. And so it's nice to see a wheel this beautiful. To touch it is amazing. It's just
yeah.
the feel of it. I don't know how to describe it.
And then the center cap, of course, has the rocket emblem, which is all over this car, and it has the little
The
gear.
serrations are,
Yep,
again,
absolutely.
and the two horn bars, just absolutely spectacular. And notice the Prindle delete in the dash. When will you ever see that on a full-size Oldsmobile?
Right, and so if someone doesn't know what a Prindle is, everybody should know that. It's basically, you know, park, reverse, neutral, and then, you know, second and low.
Driving low.
Driving low, right? So Prindle. We don't know the exact production numbers of this car. It could be around 200 and some 4-speed Starfires. And if somebody knows that number for
We
sure,
would love to know.
We'd love to know that. Yeah, just trying to take a look at this in the dark, all lit up.
Again, look at the door panels. The stitching that follows the chrome band, the stainless band. Big giant tractor pedals.
Right.
Just wonderful. A chromed e-brake release, park brake release.
Right.
That's pretty high end. That's a pretty nice touch.
Yeah, totally metal. The feel of that is really solid. I mean, look at the size of that gas pedal. I mean, that is
You're
really
not gonna miss
neat.
that.
No, absolutely not.
It's a hazard,
Yeah.
a flasher car.
Emergency.
Somebody really, whoever ordered this really knew what they wanted. This was no accident. Again, spectacular dash knobs and bezels. The clock still works. Holy cow!
Right. Yeah, that is fun.
And they're so clean and crisp. The gauges are just perfect. No fading, no dust, no yellowing on the white. Nothing like a Survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're the
45,000 miles. And well cared for 45,000 miles. Someone loved this car.
best. We didn't get to capture it on this one because we took these shots in the after the car was warmed up. But it's really common on these cars that they have a cold light. So you start the car up, it's on choke for a period of time. So, I mean, the whole point of that is so you don't over rev the engine when it's cold.
The dual ashtrays on this, just a convenience for everybody. There's an ashtray on all four corners of the interior. Everybody can have their own cigarette. The rear door panel's a mirror image of the front. Look at the piece of trim where the roof comes down and meets the stainless for the roof rail trim. That a simple part, but highly designed. They were really paying attention to everything they were touching.
Every detail.
Wonderful door lights.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're Oldsmobile only. I don't recognize them in anything else.
Yeah, I'm not sure. More of the theme of the circular gear marks.
And amazing that every GM car that has a rear seat speaker grille is a different grille. It's not a universal part with a new emblem placed on it. A Pontiac, a Buick, an Olds, a Chevy, they are all different speaker grilles.
Kind of interesting that this is a roll-up window car. A lot of Starfires would have power windows, but I really think that someone was specifically getting this car for it to be like a full-size muscle car. Roll-up windows, non-air conditioning,
Yep.
4-speed transmission.
Yep, they wanted a full-size muscle car.
This car probably weighs maybe, what, a few hundred pounds more than a 442, but it has a 425 engine versus the 400. So off of the assembly line, this probably could give a 442 a pretty good run.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah,
I'm sure it did. Just a beautiful interior.
Yeah, beautiful.
Just glows in all the light. What a front end.
Yeah.
The pot metal grille, the fender extensions, how recessed the grille and headlights are from the fender tips. The cowl, I can't get over the cowl. How they stylized the cowl. It could have just been a flat panel, like a Chevy, an Impala, full-size Chevy's that flat panel, Pontiac's a flat panel. I believe a Buick is a flat panel, but I'm not positive. That's just so stylized and beautiful for a cowl panel.
Probably a pretty tough part to get. That might interchange with a Pontiac. So if you found yourself with an Oldsmobile 4-speed car and it didn't have a 4-speed radiator, so the difference would be transmission cooling lines, right?
Right.
So you could probably use that radiator out of a Pontiac would be a more likely place to get that.
Right.
If you needed one.
But
right?
that is a darn rare radiator. That is an unheard of piece.
Right, and
Holy
in beautiful
cow.
condition. And interesting, it has a 4-blade
Fixed fan.
non-flex fan. If it had air conditioning, of course, it would have a clutch fan rather. That little guy right there is a vacuum storage container to operate like the power trunk or...
The kick panel vents again, because they're vacuum operated.
Correct, yeah.
So they need their vacuum storage. I find it interesting that the wire loom clips are screwed to the firewall when most cars are typically spot welded in place long before this point of the car's production.
Beautiful looking original voltage regulator. I believe that's an original hose on this car.
I can't imagine it's not, with its clamps, its stamps, the plastic retainer on the shroud or the finger guard.
Another Oldsmobile feature, they're always tying their upper heater hose to the shroud.
Yeah, that's a definite Oldsmobile thing nobody else seems to do.
Right. Yeah, a lot of information going on right here.
Right, so we can decode right off the bat that it's the 2L is the 4-speed.
4-speed transmission. I think we learned the V was
the V's the reverb, which I find really interesting because it doesn't have anything to do with holes in the body, which is essentially what they're trying to worry about here. Things like power antennas and 4-speeds.
But that was done at Fisher Body, so they needed to know to put that in there. Backing up a little bit, the E is easy or
soft red.
Yeah, soft red glass, all windows. So even though this car doesn't have air conditioning, they added tinted glass.
They wanted tinted windows.
And then 5Y is deluxe seat belts. And
and they're beautiful.
we can see here that on the data plate, the Lansing is the plant that it was built in. So the LAN was Lansing. And then the 66, of course, is the year. It was built in February of 1966 for the O2B, I believe.
Second week.
Moving on over after Lansing, the body number, 1537. They have made 1,537.
97.
Or 97, sorry.
Of
Starfires.
Starfires at this point in time.
And Starfires were only two-door hardtops, so it's not like they, so say that was an Olds 98, you could have a four-door or a two-door, a luxury sedan or whatever. So that number pertains only to the 3.5, 4.57.
Now it's a Lansing car. So Oldsmobile built cars outside of Lansing, correct?
Yeah, many, probably 5 plants.
The little research I've done, and I'm sure someone can correct me if I'm wrong, is that every 4-speed car I've found so far is a Lansing built car. And I'm curious if that's required, that only Lansing built them and had the parts to build them, or could one come out of California or St. Louis or wherever else full-size Oldsmobiles would have been built?
Right, correct. So a neat piece of information we'd love to know.
The amount of slather on the rivets,
right.
The seam sealer. Again, an Oldsmobile only clamp for the washer hose on the fender well.
Correct, yep.
Also mated with the battery cable, the positive battery cable.
Yeah, absolutely a neat detail.
They love tying their stuff down.
They had that neat little boot cover over the solenoid there, the starter solenoid.
How about just the yellow stripe on the hose, on the ribbed hose? That's just a great little detail.
Yeah.
Never been messed with, never been removed and lost.
Most restorations would lose that.
Its original master cylinder with its bleeder.
Yep.
Never see those.
Booster
really a hard
cylinder.
to find.
Beautiful wiper motor. Has the correct, pump.
The Oldsmobile only breather on the valve cover.
Correct.
What a unique little part.
Yeah. Starfire, Oldsmobile ultra high compression. So that was, one of their catchphrases they like to use.
I love the body line, the quarter that ended up getting used in the 66 and 7 Cutlass, but obviously came from a 65 and 6 full size.
Flying by there, wonderful facility again for us to be able to shoot these videos. You can get up to speed, do stop and go around corners, just really neat to get out and drive this car. Feels so good and tight and just fresh. I mean, it gives you the feeling that you could just hop in this car and drive it anywhere without a problem.
One of the interesting things on this car is how it's optioned. It does have reverb, it does have flashers, it does have, and you can see the 2 buttons in the passenger visor, that it has a passenger visor vanity mirror, but it is not a day-night rear view mirror.
Yeah.
It only has a single action rear view mirror, which is so unusual. You have to wonder if that was an accident, or did they intentionally not want to give the extra $3 for that?
Right, AM radio, roll up windows.
Yeah.
No power locks. This car could have had a lot more.
Could have had a lot of options. So the ones that it has seem to be very, very
specific. I agree with the guy that ordered this car.
He did a good job.
Mm-hmm. We were able to get this car up to regular highway speeds. Even that one flyby, 75, 85 miles an hour there just felt just as tight and nice as can be.
Nothing like an original car.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're putting a wrap on this one. 1966 Olds Starfire here with Jeff Kelly in this episode of What Makes This Car Cool.
Thanks for watching.